So, guys, have you missed me? I'm back. I'm back on the Alphabet podcast. I've seriously missed you guys. I've missed recording. I've missed everything about this podcast, and I'm actually glad that I feel that way because, as you guys well know, the last few podcasts before I kind of signed off for this break, I was feeling a bit burnt out, and I feel like that's a common thing that's kind of going around recently. A lot of people that I've been speaking to have been saying that this winter they felt a little bit burnt out. Life has been lifing and things just been going on, and just finding it hard to keep a lid on things. Loads of stuff going on in the world that's causing people a lot of grief and a lot of pain, and it's been really hard to watch. It feels like there's all of this trauma just being put out there. Twitter, since it's come back as X, just being unregulated, and you getting to suddenly see so much more things that you probably wouldn't have seen in the past. So we're going to talk Celebrity Big Brother. We're going to talk a little bit about some things that have come up this last couple of weeks with the police. And we're just going to talk about what's coming up on the Alphabet podcast over the next few months. So I've decided, guys, now that I'm back, that I'm going to be trying my hardest, let's just say, to stick to a fortnightly schedule. I feel like once a month is not enough, but every week it can be a bit difficult to stick to that, especially, being a carer, being a working therapist, having my own life to kind of navigate. I think I was being there's a bit wishful thinking in the beginning when I thought I could kind of keep up with the week. So I think every 2 weeks is kind of where I'm at the moment. So be looking to tune in every couple of weeks for the content. If the notifications are not going out, please check back and look, because there will be regular episodes going forward. So, guys, how have you been? How have you really been? Because, it's been a while, and I feel like I needed the break. You have so much things going on, and you feel like, all right, I'm just going to take a little bit of time out for me. And then that time out becomes more time, and you get kind of used to just being self first, because we're not going to say selfish. But that's kind of where I've been at. Just focusing on some family stuff, some, personal issues, and just getting my house in order, so to speak, so that I can then come back as my best self and give you guys the best of me. So, guys, Celebrity Big Brother, let's just get straight into it, because, this is going to be a rant. I don't know how long this rant's going to go on for, but this rant just kind of needs to come out. So, Celebrity Big Brother, since the beginning, all right. So in the early days, I used to watch Big Brother when it was, a real social experiment, when it was just normal, everyday people coming in, and we just getting to see how they kind of interacted with each other. But as the years kind of went on, it became a lot more contrived, and you'd have people going in there with game plans and being very aware that the cameras were recording them. But the celebrity version has always kind of been a different ball game, because you have these celebrities, and I'm going to use that term quite loosely, because I don't think there's one group of celebrities. There are talented people that are also well known and well rewarded for what they do, and there are also people that are known, and I'm not quite sure what they're known for. So there's like different levels of celebrities. But what I always find interesting is, I always wonder to myself why these people go on these shows when they're already out there in the public domain. And I think there's a certain amount of narcissism that goes with being quite successful at times, but definitely a lot of ego. Let's just say I was expecting fireworks. So with me, if I don't kind of watch Big Brother or the Love Island straight from the very beginning, it's very hard for me to get into them. So I made a conscious effort to check out the launch night of this new edition of Celebrity Big Brother, being the first one on ITV1, being back, and just seeing, who is counting as celebrities these days. Because what I used to find from watching it in the past is that a lot of the people I hadn't even heard of. And that doesn't mean anything, because I'm not necessarily the biggest celebrity chaser. So people could be out there for years doing what they're doing or being famous. And if they're not famous for something that I'm particularly interested in, they can just completely go over my head. But I thought I'd watch it. And, straight away, I see some interesting dynamics forming. I see Sharon Osbourne going in there, and then I see Louis Walsh, and I thought, come on, we've got a geriatric X Factor reunion going on here. That's fine. Okay, this is going to be controversial. When I saw some of the other people, I saw Ekin Su, obviously knowing her from Love Island fame. And actually, I found her quite interesting on Love Island. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. And then I carried on watching and I thought, okay, where's the diversity coming from? So I saw, David from My Beef for Weekend. Also, I thought, okay, so we've got a bit of diversity there. I saw the Broadway star, Marisha. And I saw Zizi Mills. But then I also saw Levi Roots. So I thought, okay, we've got a little bit of diversity. We've got some young people, some old people, some more current people, some older celebrities from back in the day. This is an interesting mix. So let me just get a handle on that. And straight away, as a Black woman, I can say that Zizi Mills is, obviously Louis Walsh doesn't seem to know her. I wouldn't say I know her particularly well. I know of her. I know of the reputation that she has for being quite outspoken, controversial, and with her own views that some do not agree with. So let's be quite diplomatic there. And yeah, that's what she's known for, being controversial, not holding back, being quite assertive. Okay, how's this going to go? Didn't have to watch very long to see it unfold. Now, everybody has their own way of doing things, and that's part of what I find so interesting about these reality shows, is when you see people, that are good at certain things and they go into the house and they try to micromanage it. So I kind of half expected Levi Roots to be trying to make fried dumpling with every meal that was going, to be micromanaging the beans. Those are kind of normal things that you would kind of expect. Okay, you see it in the jungle. There's always one person that takes it upon themselves to be the chef of the group and to get upset with everyone else that doesn't do things the way they do it. That's normal dynamics. And then we had Fruit Salad Gate or Orange Gate, however you want to perceive it. And we know that Lauren Simon, she is quite a well-to-do woman. She was married to somebody very rich and she has a certain lifestyle that she's used to. And, fruit salad for breakfast, hooray, let's have some fruit salad. So she has her own way of doing it. She wants to chop it up into small pieces. I don't know. Who cares? It's not that important. We also have Zizi, who, maybe in her house, we don't have fruit salad for breakfast, but we'll eat some oranges and we'll cut some oranges for the rest of the group. Now, when you have two people that do things in a certain way, without compromise and, boundaries and stuff like that, there's always going to be situations that arise. Okay. Now, I watched it and I thought it was quite petty. Two grown women, I see it on both sides, two grown women having a little set to about oranges and fruit salad. But what I did notice is that Zizi expressed her annoyance in front of this said Lauren, and Lauren had her right to respond, which she didn't take up. Now, why am I tuning into this show a few days later to see one woman crying in the diary room, a very strong woman that I've seen on The Real Housewives, this woman crying in the diary room, about this situation with the oranges, finding it so upsetting. And then this whole performance, that's all I can describe it as a performance. I witnessed her going up to Zizi, and to me, it's obvious that these two women do not have much in common. They're not from the same background. Ordinarily, I wouldn't expect them to necessarily have common ground, but, it's also okay to not get along with people. It's okay to meet someone and to think that person is not for me. Yeah. To be fair with you, Lauren, I don't think would be my type of woman. I don't think Zizi would be either. It's okay not to like people, and that's perfectly fine. But I see some insidious works at play. Now, obviously, when you're in a group situation and you've got two people that are bickering, it's going to cause a lot of issues for the group. So where possible, it's always good to nip it in the bud, maybe go off and have a private conversation, woman to woman. But what I witnessed on this show was this grown woman go up to another grown woman in front of people and ask her if she can hug her. Now, just going back a few seconds, these two women clearly do not like each other. They've just had what I would describe as a row over something petty as oranges. right? Okay, nothing was addressed at the time. Nobody had anything to say after the Orange Gate. It was all fine. Now you have one woman crying in the diary room, and she feels like she needs to address this other woman about this Orange situation. And her way of doing it is to go in front of the whole group and say, I would like to hug you. Okay, so why would you like to hug me? We don't like each other. You know, personal space is a very personal thing. So Zizi responded how I would respond in that situation, and how anybody that I see as quite reasonable would be like, well, why do you want to hug me? You want to hug me and you want to apologize because you want to make everybody else feel comfortable. Now, not only is that weird as fuck, but that is a strange way to apologize, to say to someone you want to apologize or to kind of manage a situation because everyone else is uncomfortable. I think, personally, that Zizi was well within her rights to tell the woman to fuck off. Now, I also know that Zizi can't do that, because if Zizi said Lauren Simon to fuck off in that situation, she would have immediately been cancelled. Now, by the end of this Celebrity Big Brother, she may well be cancelled anyway. But if she'd have told her to go and fuck herself or to fuck off, as I probably would have said to someone in that situation that is clearly not apologizing to me with any sincerity and doing it for the crowd, that would have been my first reaction. But we already know that Black women cannot respond that way. Now, Zizi's not very good at code switching or playing the game, because the way how I would have done that, because I'm on national TV, I probably wouldn't have told her to fuck off. I would have made her look extremely silly to how she should have looked for that situation. Now, a few more things have come up. The nominations. So, you know, I immediately saw with Zizi as well, Ekin-Su clash. You know, strong personalities, not going to get along. You know, had no issue with Ekin's reason for nominating Zizi. She don't particularly like her. They're not going to get along. I think that's very honest. Okay, Lauren, you could understand why she wouldn't want to vote for her. I've had an incident with you. We're arguing about oranges. We're doing all of this. We don't like each other, which is a perfectly good enough reason to say. I think these people should be more honest and say, I'm voting for this person because I don't like them, rather than say, I don't have any real reason to vote for anybody, but, and then come out with about 5 reasons why you're voting for them. It's fake. And we can all see that is fake. So I would expect Lauren to vote for her. I would expect Ekin to vote for her. And it's interesting that these two women seem to have teamed up. So we can see what's going to unfold there. But Levi Roots, oh my goodness gracious me. This man nominated Zizi. And a lot of you were probably saying, based on what you just said, Liana, that's absolutely fine. Maybe he doesn't like her. It's okay for him to vote for her. Now, there's so many other people that he could have voted for so many other reasons. But he chose to vote for Zizi. And to summarize, I'm not quoting the man word for word, but, you know, she does this controversy stuff for work, but this is not work and we have to get along and all of the rest of it. So, okay, that doesn't seem too bad on first inspection. However, as a Black woman, I take exception to that. And I'm going to tell you why I take exception to that. Because people are now starting to understand that this ingrained prejudice and dislike for Black women, all of these stereotypes that are thrown, that are very harmful and very insidious, they exist now. This hatred is real. I think if you're honest, you can see it. This hatred is real. But what doesn't get spoken about enough, in my opinion, is the fact that Black men are usually the first in the queue to do this. They're the biggest exponents, in some senses, of this misogynoir. So this Black man, could not have found anybody else in the house to vote for that annoyed him anymore. And that was the reason that he chose to vote for Zizi. So now, this man might have a little bit more credence, if this man actually knew who his children were and what age they were. Now, Levi Roots, you're someone that I've looked up to and I've respected. And just to show you, there's no cap here. Look, we got the book, the Reggae book. We don't need the book because Liana can cook, but we support the team. Now, Mr. Roots, you're from my hometown in Brixton. I don't know how many of your baby mothers are black women. I haven't done enough research on you to know that much, because I don't know how many of your baby mothers, the many baby mothers that you have, are black women. But how do you think those baby mothers will feel as black women to hear your reasons for why you voted for ZZ Mills? Now, ZZ's going to get voted out. She ain't going to make it to the end. Me as a black woman, I have certain reservations about this particular black woman, because she is controversial and she will slay and drag fellow black women, if need be, wherever she sees fit. But me as an older woman, firstly an older woman and an older black woman, that has about 10 years on ZZ, I will not hold that against her. And I know that a lot of black Twitter is. A lot of them are quite happy that she seems to be getting a taste of her own medicine, and they're not really going to be there to defend her. But I will defend her, because what I'm seeing is quite insidious. It's this whole narrative that somehow black women cannot be assertive. And in ZZ's case, we cannot be assertive and we cannot be annoying. Now, I've looked at some of the comments on Twitter in regards to the ZZ situation, and it's a lot of, I would say a lot of, white women. I don't know the class of them. I would assume potentially middle class. I don't know, potentially middle class, lower class, upper class. But I can see clearly that these are white women, and a lot of them are like, yeah, that ZZ. We don't know. There's just something about that ZZ. And, there may be other people that see that as fine. But as a black woman, I hear that quite a lot. There's just something about that person, or there's just something about that. And I would suggest that that something is the fact that she's black. That is the something. Because black women don't get to be able to engage in banter, because that's another thing they were arguing about. Lauren, when she says things that people find offensive, is banter. When ZZ says it, is being rude. So that's make that make sense for me. Now, you can dislike someone for being annoying. You can dislike someone's personality and not necessarily gel with it. But we cannot be using racism and not even standing on that. I would much rather someone openly say they don't like me because I'm a black woman, rather than take aspects of me and throw things against me. So she's going to be aggressive. When she was having an argument and the voices started to get raised, I was feeling really nervous as a black woman at home, saying, ZZ, please do not go into this trap, because we know that you two can have an argument and you're going to be the aggressive one, even though you're both being aggressive because you're arguing. You're both talking louder than you should talk. You're both not making sense. Both of your points have gone out of the realms of the argument, but there's only going to be one person that's going to be viewed as aggressive, and that's going to be ZZ Mills. So, Levi, you've been eating too much of your reggae sauce, and I feel like someone needs to send you a care package over the wall. As a black man, I think you should actually be ashamed of yourself for jumping on the bandwagon for this young black woman that could be one of your children. If there's something that somebody's doing that you don't particularly like, or you can see as an older person that is maybe not helpful, it'd probably be good to have a conversation with them. But where is the solidarity? This man is crying. Nearly every time I turn on this show, this man is crying about something different, which is why I'm saying send this man a care package with some Rizla involved, because this Rasta man is struggling. He's struggling to remember how old his children are. And he's actually unwittingly, if you want to call it that, doing a lot of harm to black women. And I feel like black men, you're the first one to say, black women are too this or black women are too that. Is your mum not a black woman? Are your sisters not black women? Why are you black men throwing us under the bus? Do you not think that black women have a hard enough time? But anyway, moving on from Levi, he's got too much of my time. Like, be mindful coming back to Brixton, okay? Just be mindful about that, Levi, because there's going to be a few black women that are going to stop you and ask you to explain some of those views. But who really needs to be explaining his views right about now is Louis Walsh. Now, I've heard it so many times already, even from my friends. Oh, he's just his age. He's just an old He's just an old man. He doesn't really know what he's saying. I disagree with that. And I think some of the comments that Louis already made, I watched a 30-second clip of him nominating ZZ, and I don't know if it's just me, if I'm really just in this thing and I'm just seeing stuff, but I genuinely feel like if you're listening to this now and you're thinking, oh, what did he say? It wasn't that bad. I urge you, okay, to go back and listen to it, right? They asked Louis Walsh who to nominate. He picked ZZ, all right? I kid you not, all right? This man, he picked ZZ, and his reasons for picking ZZ is that there are so many people in the house that are more well-known than her, okay? There are so many people in the house that are better than her. There are so many more people in the house that are more talented than her. But this is the real one. She's too opinionated. Now, someone, please give this man his medication. Please, someone give this man his medication. Because not only is it misogynistic, but the misogynoir, the level of hate towards this black woman from a man that's already admitted that he doesn't even know who she is. Where is it coming from, Louis? Are black women only, okay to you when you want to be on live TV grabbing Mel B's bunda? Is that all black women are to you? Is a booty? This man, and I would suggest he's projecting, because I would actually ask Big Brother if they could not find anybody better than Louis Walsh that is better known and more talented and less opinionated. Because I would actually say that he's describing himself. Because other than seeing other people's talent, what is Louis Walsh's actual talent? This man must be in his 70s now. And what is his talent? This man has always had an issue with women. Go back to the X Factor days. He will tell you he doesn't like working with female groups. All they do is argue. All of these stereotypes of women, they're difficult to work with. He prefers to work with men. Girls Aloud weren't too bad, but other than that, he doesn't like to work with women. And this man has been given a platform to perpetuate what is being called his harmless opinions. Now, he's an Irishman, and I'm pretty ashamed of him as someone that is part Irish, but I can't shy away from the fact that even in my own Irish family, there's a lot of racism towards black people and black women in particular. I'm not going to go into my family history, but I have 2 white uncles that, dislike me, my sisters, my mum for being black women. So there's not really a lot you can do with that. So this whole, this blanket thing where it's, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, it doesn't apply to everyone. There is a lot of racism there. And giving this man a platform to say these things and it being described as harmless when it isn't. So I'm going to say that again. So many people that are better. So many people that are better known. So many people more talented. She's too opinionated. In other words, who does this black woman think she is? Guys, read between the lines. It's very insidious. The comments on Twitter are very insidious. This whole there's just something about ZZ. I would say to you, the something is that she's black. And you guys need to look better at that. ZZ, you're probably not going to have a lot of black women defending you. But that's something that you can potentially learn from. But this particular black woman, I'm still going to defend you. I'm still going to defend you because I defend wrong where I see it happen. And this is what we have to do with true allyship. And I found it really interesting, but not surprising that ZZ's allies in the house are Nikita, David, and Bradley. Okay, so Nikita is not from here. He's a white man, but he's not been born and raised here. They've seen it. They've called it out. They've sat down with ZZ and said, we've seen it. These are the people that are probably going to be her allies in the house that are going to call it out. And this is what true allyship is about. It's about not just jumping on the bandwagon and, seeing something and being like, I don't like her, so I'm going to jump on this as well. It's actually standing away from the crowd and being like, I'm not comfortable with this. I can see what's at play here. you know? So it's interesting that all of the, you know, the white men that stuck up for the ZZ, they're all white men that I would say in terms of intersectionality are a bit different. Nikita from being non-British, you know, David for being gay, and Bradley for being gay and autistic. So it's just that element of difference. You see that they're the ones that wrap their arms around. And it's almost like who feels it knows it kind of thing. Because without ZZ in the house, those maybe would be the men that would be most likely to be the target of discrimination. Because that's how discrimination works. It's almost like an Olympics. Because take away the black woman, it'll be the white gay man that, you know, they come for. You know, there's always someone higher in the pecking order. And I think it's very easy just to jump on what everyone else is saying. So guys, if you don't like ZZ Mills, that's absolutely fine. But make sure that the reasons why you dislike her are honest and pure reasons. And they're not racist reasons. Because we really need to start looking at some of the things we're saying. There's just something about her. What is the something? Tell me the something and the some things. Otherwise, please be quiet, because it is extremely harmful. And it just reinforces to me that black women can't be assertive. We can't be annoying. We can't engage in banter, because it's always going to be taken back to some type of racial stereotype. What do you mean the woman's too opinionated? We're all entitled to have opinions. That's what they are. They're opinions. You know, I would suggest that maybe some of her opinions, however controversial, she may have researched them a lot more than Louis's opinions, because what are his opinions based on, considering that the fact that he said he doesn't even know who she is? So you've got a lot to say and a lot of opinions about someone that you don't know. So I would ask you, Louis Walsh, what are you basing it on? And it just shows me that in order for this not to be cut to impact on this black woman's mental health, she's going to be in need of those allies to validate her experiences. Because I'm seeing her ended up going to apologize for something that she should have been apologized to for. So you see what I mean? See how it works out? You end up being the bad guy. So you can't speak your mind because you're going to be aggressive. So you end up apologizing. What are you apologizing for? So I'm hoping that you're seeing it for the social experiment that it is, because it's showing you how society is. So you might see it as harmless and you might be joining in. I don't like that person, but just make sure that you're not an echo chamber for racism and you're not jumping on board something that is a lot more insidious than it looks at first glance. So that's my rant about Celebrity Big Brother over. I'm going to continue to watch it and just to see, because it's always very interesting. And yeah, going on to X, formerly known as Twitter, sorry, I keep saying Twitter, is blowing my mind. The things that openly racist things that people can say, and they're not hiding anymore. It used to just be like this fake profile. These people are not hiding from their opinions anymore. And that is extremely, extremely disturbing. So as much as we're enjoying seeing these celebrities exposing themselves and their egos coming down a peg or two, like really look at what's going on. These are celebrities. These are the highest of the highest people. You know, these people are rich and privileged, but look at some of the views and look at some of the things that they're perpetuating. So Big Brother over with. But something else that really, really, really got to me this week. So I think the 3rd of March was 3 years since the abduction, rape and murder of Sarah Everard. And I know that there wasn't a person anywhere that wasn't affected by that on some level, but it brought into the spotlight again, you know, what the police are doing, who the police are giving uniforms to or giving badges to, you know, how these people are being vetted, and how the issues that we have in society are coming out in the justice system and in the police force. So, you know, for years and years, obviously we had the Brixton riots in 1981, you know, or was it 1981? Yeah, 1981. You know, you had all of these, you know, racial uprisings and stuff. And it was always based around the abuse from the police. Now, I live in Brixton now, but my mum was a teenager at the time. And, you know, you had the New Cross fire and stuff like that, where all racism was just being shown. It was this outwardly racist society. The police could could be racist to black people and have no repercussions. And, even now, it's still racist. It was institutionally racist when Stephen Lawrence was murdered. It's been called that. The McPherson report has already said that the police are institutionally racist. Now, other than the police, there's no one that's going to be really arguing with that too much. The police are institutionally racist. That's a fact. But what the Sarah Everard case kind of highlighted is that the misogyny, which is also part of the dark underbelly of society, is rearing its head in that way. This real hate towards women. So I speak a lot about the misogynoir, but misogyny in the first instance, because black women's issues are all women's issues, but not all women's issues are black women's issues, or, whichever way around you want to say it, because black women as women, we get what women get, but we also get something extra. So all women's issues are black women's issues, but black women's issues are not all women's issues. But yeah, this misogyny, I genuinely think that until 3 years ago, when this happened with Sarah Everard, there was a kind of, complacency. I feel like black people, black men in particular, possibly, but even me as a black woman, I've been raised to be suspicious, not just of the police, but of all white people in authority. And, some people might say, that's racist in itself. How can, your parents be raising you to be suspicious of white people? I'll tell you why. Because white people historically have been a danger to black people. And we've had to protect ourselves. And it's now the same with women to a certain degree. So I have that suspicion. So me as a black woman walking home, being approached by a lone police officer that's not in uniform, that's showing me a warrant card, I'm not very likely to go anywhere with that man. So, I'm not saying that some black women wouldn't have believed him, and, all of the blame is on him for sure. I'm not blaming this woman in any way, shape or form, but I'm saying the way that black women and white women are socialized differently, I would say that there's less chance that it goes down the same way with a black woman, just because we've been trained to be more suspicious. But I will say that what's so shocking about this is now white people and white women are seeing the same thing, that the police are a danger to them. So you guys, I would say, white women, start being suspicious of the police and of people in authority in the same way. Don't let a policeman by himself put you in a car. We really do need to learn our rights around arrest as well, because unless you're engaging in some kind of criminal activity, or they can tell you very clearly what you've done, you can just keep walking. You can keep it all the way moving. Black men and black children have had to deal with the police and the racism for years and years and years. And this term adultification, we'll be looking at parentification in a couple of weeks. I've got a very interesting guest. I'll speak about that in a bit. But the adultification, which is usually based around bias, and that is, turning our children, taking away their innocence and, not protecting their innocence. So, stopping 12, 11-year-old black boys on the street. So it's that adultification. But I feel like white people have never really had that intrinsic or that innate fear of the police in the same way that black people do. And I think with this Sarah Everard murder, which was absolutely horrific, by the way, absolutely, like the levels of stuff that's gone wrong there it really does blow my mind. But I do generally feel like there was that complacency that, the police are this divine authority that you should just trust implicitly. And I think that what's happened recently is that that's not true. We now have, and we're not calling this man NX121 anymore. The man has a name. His name is Martin Blake. We've got a police officer that is currently on bail for murdering a black man. And I'm talking about Chris Kaba, and I'm not going to stop talking about Chris Kaba. So for all of you people that thought it was going to go away, I literally lost friends over it. I had a really good friend, and, she works for the police now. She's not a police woman, but she works on the phone. And I'm sorry to have to say this, but it's being real. And we've grown up and been friends. She's one of my many white friends. I have no issue. I have friends of different races, but I think our different races has never really come up more so than when this situation is. She'd recently started working for the police on the phone, and I'd spoke to her and I said, how do you feel? How do you feel as a white woman about what's happened to this black man being killed by the police? And she started speaking, and I think our friendship kind of tailed off from there. It was like, the police, they have a really hard job, and I just think, he was obviously a criminal, otherwise they wouldn't have been stop. I do not care if this man himself was a serial killer. We have a criminal justice system. We have a justice system, yeah? And the justice system in the UK says you are innocent until you are found guilty. You're presumed innocent until you are found guilty, yeah? This man has not even been arrested. He must have been so terrified, not knowing who these people were that were chasing him, because these people have not identified themselves. And then being shot in the head. And to have this whole narrative of, oh, this car was involved in this thing. I don't care. And we'll never know now whether or not he was involved in anything criminal or not. But you guys are missing the point. We have a criminal justice system. And nowhere in that justice system does it say you are going to shoot someone in the head before you arrest them. So where is the presumption of innocence there? And you're just going to tell his parents sorry and think that's okay. We need to start looking at the police. You're kidnapping, raping and murdering women. You're shooting unarmed black men without even identifying yourself. Like, what is going on? Like, do not wait until something like this happens to someone that you love before you start marching or seeing this for what it is. The police are dangerous. And the views that are running in society, so the misogyny, the misogynoir, all of these things, the racism are coming out more and more. And I think us as people that are watching, sometimes we're too quiet. We see what's happening in Gaza and nobody wants to say anything or speak and say anything. You have celebrities that have platforms and don't want to use these powerful platforms to call out the injustice that's going on in the world. They're just turning a blind eye. And we'll just continue to make money. Like, literally, the world is moving crazy. The world is wild right now. And I feel like so many people care about it, the world. But so many things are happening that they almost feel like they can't deal with it. And this is why I say I worry about the mental health of the world. Because this is what we're consuming and this is what we're seeing. Like, this stuff, fun and joke aside, this is celebrity Big Brother. But the police stuff, this is very insidious. All of this stuff is feeding into this. And seeing all of this injustice. You're seeing children, women being killed. And nobody's saying anything about it. It's almost like we're just going to turn a blind eye. We're just going to pretend that, it's happening. And we'll just throw a few distractions out there. And yeah, everyone will just go about their business. But I feel like it's a strange time that we're living in now. I feel like people are really starting to wise up. People are really starting to wise up. They're starting to see all of the different things that are going on in the world. And it feels like the system is ready to pop down. And I, for one, hope that it does, because it just feels like it can't continue the way it's going. Like, so many things that you would just think could not happen have just happened. Us being locked in our house. You've got war going on. You've got innocent children being killed and no one's saying anything. People are scared of being cancelled. You can't even use certain words in the same sentence without the fear of being cancelled. But all the while, there's people suffering and dying unnecessarily. And trying to turn a blind eye to that and continue with their everyday lives. You've got the cost of living. So people can't even afford the small little things that would keep their heads above water. The things that were enjoyable to them. Everything has just become so hard. And that's why mental health is so important. It's not mental illness that we're talking about. It's the mental health of the world. This is what we're absorbing. And I, for one, I'm pissed off. I'm fed up of the racism. I'm fed up of the misogyny. I'm fed up of the misogynoir. Even me now as a as a black woman, even as a therapist, me saying my opinions, and people probably sitting there thinking she's being aggressive. It's just that, always having to hold back and not even share your opinions because, almost being fearful of how it's going to be perceived. But that's going to stop on this podcast, because this right here is my podcast. And on this podcast, I will speak my views. And I'm seeing a lot of this racism and misogyny going on, and it needs to change. So we're going to be looking at all of these things, and we're not going to be prettying it up so that it sounds better for people to, consume. It is what it is. It's going on. We've got to take our heads from out of the sand now and see what is really going on in the world. And I'm not going to stop calling it out now. I don't have a big platform, so I don't have loads and loads and loads of people to hear what I'm saying. But for those that are on my platform, we're gonna start calling these things out. It's not acceptable. We're not gonna accept this in 2024. We're not gonna be just, putting racism underneath the carpet and being like, oh, he's just a person of a certain age. He doesn't understand. These things are extremely harmful. We're gonna be like questioning it. What do you mean by that? Sorry, you said this. What did you mean by that? Start challenging it and start watching these people start stuttering, because these views that they have, these wild views that they have, are not being challenged. The next person that comes with some racist stuff to me, I'm going to ask them, what you mean by that? The days of me just letting it, oh, it's not worth it, different battles to fight, are over. People are going to be challenged. You say something sexist, you're going to be challenged. What do you mean by that? Would you care to explain that comment? Because I don't think you should be saying things unless you can explain it. And so many people out here just talking and can't explain where this is coming from. And they're part of the problem. What are your opinions based on? Are they the opinions of someone else, or are they genuinely your opinions? What is it that you're really saying? What is coming out of your mouth? Because it's harmful. So I feel better. I feel like this podcast has been my therapy today, but there's just been so much stuff going on that I almost felt compelled. But I also need to let you know some logistical stuff. So when I did start the podcast, my intention was to come on and say to you guys, okay, I've been a bit burnt out. I took on this project not really knowing, I'm thinking, yeah, I've got to release a podcast every week. That's hard work. And it's a lot of hard work. And it's not always practical for me to do that with some of my other responsibilities. So just taking time out for myself. The schedule that I feel quite comfortable with is every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, if you've already subscribed to this channel, you will get the notifications and you won't have to do any more. But if you haven't subscribed, I would say subscribe, because we've got so many exciting things coming up this spring. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm recording with 2 Queens of Peckham. That's what I'm going to call it, Peckham's finest. So we're going to be talking intersectionality in sport, and we're going to be talking about that with Mary Phillip. For those of you who don't or have never heard of Mary Phillip, she was the first black woman to captain the England football team, 65 caps. She's also the manager of Peckham Town. She's the only female manager to have won a cup competition with a male team. She has a UEFA A license, which is very rare for anybody, much less a black woman from Peckham. But she's also an ambassador for MS. So a very inspirational woman, and someone that, our paths never actually crossed in real time, but Mary's somebody that I've looked up to since I was a teenager. So as a teenager, I was a footballer. I think I might have said that, but if I haven't, I was a footballer, and I played for Lambeth Town. But by the time I played for Lambeth Town when I was about 13, there was this story of this really amazing footballer that had just kind of left and moved to Millwall and had been called up by England. And that footballer was Mary Phillip. So from the age of 13, Mary's been someone that I follow, that I aspired to when I was playing football. I always wanted to try to achieve and get anywhere near as good as this amazing footballer. But, she's also an amazing person. She's a mother, and she's done great things, not just for women's football, but for football in general. And I'm really interested in tapping into Mary's experiences, because I know growing up in the 70s and 80s as a woman playing football, there was a lot of discrimination involved and a lot of things to kind of get over. So I'm really looking forward to that interview with Mary. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. But amazingly, we also have Kelechi Okafor. So she's the author of Edge of Hair, and you know, she's just recently written a children's book and done some really good things for World Book Day. And yeah, I'm just so starstruck in that sense, because I've been open. The idea of empty celebrities doesn't really do much for me, but Kelechi is the opposite of that. She's someone who uses her platform, and she is the voice of the oppressed. You know, she's an ally to many causes. She calls things out and often gets rewarded with a lot of online abuse, which a lot of it, in my opinion, is based on her being a black woman with an opinion. So once again, how the misogynoir shows up. You know, it's very difficult as a black woman, no matter how intelligent or educated you are, to be able to say the things you want to be able to say without being accused of being something. So, you know, Kelechi, she doesn't shy away from it. And she's kindly agreed to come on. And we're going to look at parentification, her experiences of parentification, you know, how important exercise is to her for maintaining her mental health, and for her own experiences of therapy. Because, you know, growing up in a Nigerian household in Britain, there are a lot of stigmas, as there are growing up in a Caribbean household in Britain. There are a lot of stigmas that you have to kind of get over in terms of mental health and therapy. So Kelechi wrote a very good article for Elle magazine at the back end of last year. And I read that article and I thought, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to reach out to this really amazing person that I look at as a role model, even though Kelechi's a lot younger than me, or a bit younger than me. I'm not that old. But, you know, someone that I look up to in terms of what they do with their platform and how they take all the abuse that comes. But, you know, when you have something in your heart that you want to say, you know, I'm sure Kelechi sleeps very well at night, being able to just call it as she sees it. But, you know, I reached out to her and she got back to me very quickly and agreed to come on. And I'm really, really looking forward to that interview. So that will be coming up. So if you haven't subscribed, I would suggest that you do subscribe so that you don't miss out on anything. Tell your friends, tell your work colleagues. You know, the Alphabet podcast is back and we're going to be really doing some hard hitting stuff. We've done the softly, we've introduced the terms. Now it's about to get a bit more real on this podcast. And I feel like that's maybe the missing exponent. I feel like I've been holding back, you know, maybe a little bit on therapist mode, but you're going to get a little bit more of the realness and understand a little bit more why it is that I feel compelled to start this podcast and to make things, just bring things into the awareness, because all of these things are happening, but they're not being spoken about. And I think difficult conversations need to be had. You know, the only way how you change anything is by having these difficult conversations and not shying away from it. So if there's something you want to discuss, reach out to me. You know, this is a solo podcast, but I'm always looking for guests that can add value to the calls. So if you feel like there's something that you want to say, please feel free, reach out. So you can find me at A Podcast on IG, A Podcast 26 on IG, at Lead the Therapist on TikTok, and obviously on this YouTube channel. So I'm kind of going to get off for the rest of the day. It's my sister's birthday yesterday, and there's still a little bit of celebrating to do. But, you know, I'm back. The Alphabet podcast is back, and I'm just, yeah, I feel ready to go, guys. Not burnt out. Life is good. You know, nothing to complain about. So, yeah, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. So we'll be looking at, so like I say, we've got the interview with Mary Phillip and we've got Kelechi Okafor. You do not want to miss that. So, guys, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And until then, just be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. And I'll catch you on the other side.